All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Pokemon, and in today's video, the thing that I want to talk about is the recent sale on eBay of a first edition base set PSA 10 Red Cheeks Pikachu, shadowless, of course. Now, this Pikachu, I think this was a really interesting auction, and the reason why is because we recently just had the sale of this base set shadowless first edition Charizard, which is considered to be the holy grail of Pokemon card collecting, and this sold at PWCC auctions at the very end of March for $311,000. Now, this sale has been finalized. The buyer paid. This was a legitimate sale of this Charizard. Now, the big thing about this auction was the fact that since this is the holy grail of Pokemon, Pokemon's been going nowhere but up. The price of cards had been going nowhere but up, and this Charizard had been on this upward trajectory until this sale. So the sale before this was about $400,000, including the auction fees. So this was about a 20 to 25% drop in the value of Charizard, the holy grail of Pokemon. And to a lot of collectors, this indicated a potential bubble burst in Pokemon cards. Everybody has been kind of wondering, with this crazy growth of Pokemon that seems almost unrealistic. It does seem unrealistic. How long can something like this be sustained until we see some significant price retracing and see the bubble burst to where this endless upward rocket of price increases just tanks off and starts to drop, then eventually maybe levels out. So with this Pikachu, the fascinating thing is that this recent sale on April 11th, it sold for $7,900 via goingtwice.com, which has over 28,000 feedback at 99.6 positive. So this was actually a really low sale for this Pikachu. And the reason why I wanted to make a video specifically about this card is because the reason why I made the Charizard video is because Charizard is the holy grail of Pokemon. Very iconic card, very iconic character, very lovable, very sought after, very nostalgic. When it comes to Pokemon as a brand, it doesn't get much more lovable, cute, and nostalgic than Pikachu. Pikachu and Pokemon go hand in hand. It's basically their logo, it's their mascot, it's their, while it's not the crown jewel card, it's one of the big collectible characters, especially when you're talking about first edition base set cards. So, the previous kind of record high sale, if we go over to this other one here, where'd I put it over here somewhere. Okay, so $14,800. So this was about a $15,000 card at the end of February. So this year, 2021, little over, what is that, a month and a half ago, February 27th, $15,000 card. In about a month's time, actually, about a month and a half's time, it dropped. It dropped almost 50% in value between that sale and this sale. I think it's like 46 or 47% to be exact. But with the Charizard, we saw that 25% drop. Some people said no big deal. Some people said if you look closely at that Charizard, you could see that maybe it was a weak PSA 10. It wasn't necessarily that strong. Some people said there were some scratches or something. They were saying it just wasn't the prettiest PSA 10 first edition Zard, and that could have played into why that sale was so low. So 25%, some people said maybe not a huge deal. Almost 50% price drop on the Red Cheek Pikachu, I think, is fascinating. Now, I've speculated in that Charizard video that could this be the beginning of a bubble burst in Pokemon. And I think, you know, there's going to be a lot of factors that play into this. What does a bubble burst really mean? I think you're probably going to see some temporary drops on cards like this. I think for the long term, vintage cards like this aren't going to be affected long term. They might see a couple drops from this crazy growth, but I think in the grand scheme of things, 10, 20 years, the people holding these cards, they're going to be more valuable 10, 20 years from now than they are today. You're not going to see these cards go to zero. That's just my opinion. I think when you're talking about Pikachu, when you're talking about Charizard, and you're talking about a decade or more down the line, it's going to be more valuable. It's going to be worth it to hold on to these cards. Now, for people trying to flip these cards, they might be running into some issues now. And you got a lot of major market-changing conditions that are really going to... It's going to be interesting to see how those play out over the next couple of months. PSA, not accepting new orders. I'm very curious to see how that impacts the graded card market. And so far, we have seen quite a few vintage cards that you would think would be staple, secure vintage cards take dips in prices. And how big of an influence is PSA not grading cards contributing to that? Could it be that now that the PSA cards are not being graded, now that cards are not being sent in, more people are spending money on buying sealed product? Because now, you know, people flipping cards, they were sending them to get graded and trying to flip those graded cards. Now, I wonder if people are shifting away from buying cards to get graded, or buying graded cards and just buying sealed product and keeping it sealed rather than opening it. There's a lot of different factors that I think PSA not accepting new submissions could create these market circumstances. But I almost thought that PSA not accepting new submissions, it could have a positive impact, at least in the short term, on the graded card market, because you would think it would diminish the supply in the short term. If you have a Pikachu right now, a first edition base set Red Cheeks Pikachu, you can't send it to PSA. So at least in the short term, the supply is not going to get any greater on these Pikachu cards, on these Charizard cards, because nobody can send them in. And at least you've got this kind of short period. You've still got this delay with PSA where maybe a year from now, 10 months from now is when everybody's going to start getting these bulk orders back, where you might start to see the market get flooded with cards like this. But I think mostly it's going to be more modern stuff that people send. And I think the reality is this big influx of cards that PSA got is probably not a bunch of people that were sitting on vintage cards, because people that were sitting on vintage cards in good shape had probably already sent those cards in to get graded by and large. And I think a lot of the problem with PSA was people sending in modern cards, or I hate to say junk cards, but less valuable cards, and trying to flip them immediately for $100, $200, whatever they might go for. Battle Styles cards, Vivid Voltage cards. I think that was a lot, and sports cards. I'm just talking about Pokemon in this video, but I think that was the majority of what was weighing down PSA. So I don't think it's like a bunch of people were sending in a ton of Charizards and Pikachu's first edition base set Shadowless, but they might have been. But my point is, PSA shutting down the grading, I kind of thought you were going to see a brief spike in prices on graded Pokemon cards, because like I said, there's not going to be any new supply, at least in the short term, as far as people sending in more cards. So I'm kind of interested to see that these prices are dropping so significantly. A 50% drop in a staple card like this, it's interesting. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Does this signify a bubble burst in Pokemon? And what does a bubble burst mean to you? Are we just going to see some cards briefly drop in value, spike back up, and then continue on this upward trajectory over time? Is this going to be just kind of a setback in the grand scheme of things? Maybe we're just going to see a couple cards dip, and then it's just going to go straight back up and off to the races again. I'm curious to know what you guys think. I'm still anticipating the announcement of the 25th anniversary set, because that's really what I want to sink a lot of my money into. My biggest purchase right now has been cases of Evolutions. I think Evolutions is by far the set that I'm investing in most and buying the most of, because number one, I like to open a box every week on my channel here of Evolution. So this Friday, tomorrow, after you see this video, we're going to go live and crack Evolutions tomorrow. But I think the next set that I'm going to invest heavily in is whatever the 25th anniversary set. I'm going to buy a lot of that. That is what I want to start. Whatever it is, I think it's going to be huge, and I want to open a lot of it on this channel. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for any news about the 25th anniversary set. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe if you have not already. And as always, Nick Strength and Pokemon signing out.